Hello and welcome to episode 144 of the Foundry Roundtable. That's one gross for anyone familiar with The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. It's an uncouth number, but there we go. Tonight, we'll get through it. Tonight, you have with you Drogyn 1701 and a whole bunch of other guys who all feel like noobs again because we're having to relearn the control schemes for the console version of Stowe.
Also on Space Poor now.
Yes, and we're all space poor again, and we're complaining about that fact.
I could afford two training manuals.
Manuals.
I just figured out how to use them.
So broke he can't even replicate hypos.
Nope, can't replicate nothing. So anyway, of course, my co-hosts Markhawkman, Greendragoon, and DuncanIdaho.
I had to think about that one for a minute.
I had to think for a second. We're all almost all of us venturing into the upside down, as it were, and going to show off the console version of Stowe, specifically the Xbox version. Greendragoon is the one who is broadcasting. You'll be seeing it from his perspective. For those of us not, or those of you out there not usually familiar with the Foundry Roundtable, what we usually do is kind of cover the Foundry mission builder for the PC version, but obviously we like to kind of keep up with things that are going on in the main game because we're all players of the main Star Trek Online game. And the release of the console version, which it was released on Tuesday this week, is definitely a huge thing for the game, and actually hopefully a sign of good times, because obviously you don't put money into a console version if the game isn't doing well. So it's good for everybody. It will not have the Foundry, as we've mentioned before, not the editor anyway. We have heard tell on a few interviews that might get a mission or two or three published into the console version. I think the devs would have to take it and tweak it and lock it off and stick it into the console version manually. So that will take some time, of course, and is definitely not going for launch. So, Dragoon, if you're ready to go, Dragoon and Duncan are actually teamed at the moment, I think, right?
Yep.
And can go off and do something, a mission or something like that. I am still in the tutorial because I just pulled the trigger on a Xbox Live free trial that I had from way back when I bought Halo 5 or Halo Anniversary, one of those. And so I will be joining them a little bit later on, perhaps. So what do you guys think so far? Because you've had a little bit more time with it than I have.
It's both intimately familiar and different.
Yeah.
Controls are definitely different.
Yeah, it plays a lot more like an action game than your typical MMO. So you've got everything attached to a series of buttons, but then those have multiple functions. So it kind of reminds me a little bit more of a Fable, at least for ground combat.
But even then, it's pretty radical for a action game too.
Yeah.
Or kind of like Neverwinter.
Yeah,
I imagine it's got to be pretty similar.
Yeah, I never really got that far in Neverwinter on the Xbox. But in general, it's a good port. I definitely recommend it. But it does have that, it's sort of a new learning curve, because you have to get used to it in the new format.
Totally different control scheme.
And of course, it's geared a little bit to, I think, new players as well. Rather than people who have played the console or the PC version for years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
that's just kind of an impression that I have.
You're probably, no matter where you're coming from, you're probably going to encounter some learning curve because a lot of the interface is a solution of the problem of trying to get Stowe onto console and trying to distill what is Stowe's interface down into, I don't know how many, 16 buttons. So,
which they've talked about quite, sort of at length.
Yeah.
As one of their big challenges to do.
Yeah, I mean, in Neverwinter's case, they had the advantage of knowing that they wanted to go to console when they were building it, so that's why you get the only 6 powers and stuff like that. But in this case, I mean,
I think you'll sort of, my feeling right now from the control interface is that you're definitely going to have a different play style than you would on SDO-PC, because SDO-PC you can basically activate all your buffs all the time, and it's not that much of a problem. Here, you have a few key things, and you can use those pretty frequently, but if you're always cycling through and hitting a lot of powers a lot, it can definitely get a little overwhelming. So I think what you're going to end up with on SDO console are a different take on builds and a different take on ability use.
yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit more constrained and lower DPS. I mean, apart from the fact that we have fewer options like no chemo site.
Okay,
I
so
think overall,
we have a question in
you're
the
just
chat room.
going to be slightly.
Go ahead and finish.
Which I can't see right now. But I think overall, it's a little bit of a handicap, but at the same time, there's a much more immediate feel to it. So when you're playing it, it's actually a lot, like for me, it's like a lot more fun, a lot more tactical. I have a lot more feeling of using cover. So there is a good trade-off where you're not able to do as much, but what you are able to do feels better.
So the question in the chat room is shooter mode mandatory? Because of course what you're looking at now that Dragoon is playing is what is sort of the equivalent of shooter mode on the PC. Is the RPG mode there as well?
No,
This
is
RPG. Yeah, the RPG mode does not apply at all. Like you could not possibly have any analog for the RPG mode on the console, unless you had just a mouse and keyboard. So if you're using a controller, there's no, like, I would not want to play an RPG mode on that one. It just would not work. This is the shooter mode.
I know people who do play PC with controllers. Do they use shooter mode or an RPG?
I think, like, I tried that way back. And yeah, it would be shooter mode. That would be most immediate to a control interface. I just remember it wasn't very good. Back then. But this is a revamped shooter mode. It does play differently to what you have on the PC.
Yeah, it does.
It's not a problem. Like that question of shooter mode versus RPG mode, I always play on RPG mode, and this is perfectly fine.
Yeah,
it feels good so far.
Yeah, and it's not exactly like shooter mode in PC. You don't have the weird toggling through your power bar like you would. A lot of stuff gets condensed down to press and hold. So for instance, if I want to interact with things, I can press and hold A, or I guess I'm not even sure what that is. I'm sorry, I'll apologize in advance that everything I say is applied to the Xbox version because I don't know what the X or Diamond or whatever is on PlayStation 4.
Yeah, all me and Duncan as well are both on the Xbox version, so I got no idea what PlayStation is like.
Yeah. And then
PlayStation games would typically use the X if you want to interact with something. But and I think triangle is usually for exiting things. The square and the circle, well, those are just whatever they feel like using them for, if they feel like using them. Because I was just thinking about Final Fantasy X too, and I don't think that game actually used the square and circle for anything.
Yeah, so obviously there are probably going to be some differences for PS4 versus Xbox, but in general,
it's got all the same buttons basically. Yeah. So you have your interact button, you have your sort of various levels of ability use buttons. So they're categorized off. So like my grenades and tactical abilities are one button, reviving and team abilities are on another button. And I can modify these too. So I can display like what activates when I just hit it, and then what activates when I just hold it down, and then have that radio wheel. And I can also set things to auto-activate. but I haven't gotten that to work yet. So maybe that's an option. I just haven't taken full advantage of that yet. So overall, I mean, like, there's no question of whether or not this works. It's something to adjust to, though. So it's a successful Star Trek Online port.
Okay, so but before we started, we had a question pop up on Twitter that I was hoping we'd be able to figure out the answer to. And the question is, how do you invite somebody to your bridge on the console version?
That's a good question.
Dragoon, first thing first, you have to figure out how to get to your bridge.
Okay.
Hold A, and then visit Starship Bridge. So I'm going there right now.
Wondering if we're teamed, if it'll bring.
You're still on Earth Space Dock, so let me see. I'm going to go to Social Team, Manage Team. I'm going to go to you. Let's see, Options, Private Message, Inspect. Okay, so there's nothing there. I can send you mail right now. Friends list, find mail. So that's. This is a good question. So I can hold A.
May
You
not
ship interiors.
be built in, put in yet.
Yeah, it's
There's
possible
a few things that
functionality isn't there.
I just can't find in analog too on PC. For instance,
Yeah.
those silly fly-up notifications for when people open lockbox ships, they are super annoying now. They're like this black bar that comes across the screen. And I have not been able to find the notification settings anywhere to turn it off.
And I just want to be able to just completely minimize and remove the chat box, but I don't have that.
In Star Trek Online's PC version, those functions are actually either you can do that in your chat channel settings or the user interface reconfiguration screen.
Yeah, there is the chat settings are a little bit different, and there's no user interface configuration screen. There's options.
Well, I mean, I was playing around with the chat earlier, and
for chat, but you can't like move around UI elements as you would on the PC.
Well, one thing that I've done on PC is to there is a user interface element associated with the lockbox ship announcement. And then you can move that so that it's way off on the edge of the screen where you can barely see it when it pops up.
We can't do that.
Yeah,
if there happens to be a chat command, you should have access to that. I was playing around earlier and it seemed chat commands. It's the same. It's kind of the same engine underneath, so a lot of the stuff will. I don't know. Is there a chat command to invite people to your bridge?
In the PC version, obviously I don't know about the console. There is actually the ability to, if you start typing in a chat command, it will give you a list of options for automatically finishing the chat command.
Yeah, but
wait a minute. Here, I'm going to actually try something slightly different.
Hang on,
so I'm going to go in.
Bridge.
No. Stay on the bridge. Stay on the bridge.
Okay, I'm staying on the bridge.
Okay, so I was going through. Okay, so what I'm trying to do do now is to use the Xbox Live interface to join you. Wants to play SDO, select their name, press A to private message or send a team invite. Now let's see.
Amazed if this works.
So team invite. No, it just took me. It took me to your basically your. It did not translocate me to your current position.
Yeah. Well,
so
I mean, that's it. Functionality and.
Yeah, so it's not like in Halo where you might be able to join someone up in progress in that game. It looks like if you want to physically join someone up, you have to coordinate moving around. So it's basically you get an SDO, and then you just have to physically move yourself to their location. So right now, it does not look like there is a way to invite players to bridges.
At least that we found. I mean, obviously, I played for this for like one evening. Went through the tutorial last night.
It only went live yesterday.
But yeah, it seems like there's some functionalities that just hasn't been replicated on the console side.
Like hiding your ground weapons when
Yeah.
they're holstered. So I've just got to use a pistol until you get into combat.
Yeah, it's kind of just there.
So you can holster your weapons and change them out on the fly. But when you're just browsing your character, you don't have the option to actually. Let's double check on that. When you're dealing with your weapons, you have the ability to equip them from inventory like you would in STO. But once you actually have that weapon, yeah, you can unequip it, and that's basically the best you can do. So manually unequip a weapon so you're not walking around with the phaser on ESD. So yeah,
I suppose you
can
can always keep a phaser pistol in your off slot.
Yeah, or just leave that slot blank, and occasionally, if things go bad with one primary weapon, just switch to fists. That should be more interesting now.
Something I have found is you can inadvertently steal gear off of other characters.
Steal?
Yeah, well, when you're trying to equip
Oh yeah.
or pay attention to the down below where it says equipped by so and so.
Yeah, it looks like they pulled that system straight off the ship UI.
I think the other thing that I would definitely like on this is the ability to save and load costumes up.
Yeah.
Because as it is, if you make any physical appearance changes on your character, you would have to replicate it across all uniforms now.
Well, that might be a little trickier since on the PC side it saves that locally to a file.
Well, you can do local saving here as well. I know some games have done it in the past. It's just building up that analogous system might be a little tricky.
I'll tell you one thing I'm enjoying so far is and I mentioned this before we started the show, is the new dialogue style window where it makes it full screen and you see the person you're talking to really big and then a window for the actual dialogue.
Should we go show that off?
Yes. Go talk to somebody.
Ooh, Sugihara.
No, anyone but him.
Actually, now that
He's one of the closest.
so we have missions that use Sugihara as an NPC. Maybe that's why he's not been.
I found a bug visually.
A bug in Star Trek Online?
It's a new one.
That's insane.
I actually like this one. Here, if once Dragoon's done. So,
There you
new
go.
interface. You get that big up close view. You get the dialogue. It's basically taking full advantage of the screen. So it looks pretty good.
That would actually be pretty cool to have on the PC version.
Yeah, I'm just hoping.
I quite like it.
I know they're doing
Wait, hold it. Don't we have the ability to resize the UI element for dialogue boxes on the PC version?
We do, but
Possibly-
I mean, it doesn't quite get to that
Yeah,
level.
it doesn't cause it basically allows you to have more text space, so it doesn't have the same impact. But let's see, on Dragoon, if he wants to take a look at least what I'm seeing right now, the ship models on display over here that I'm facing right now, the Luna class, like everything else is gold except for the Luna class, which is bright blue.
All right. Oh, you're over there.
Yeah, I'm still in the office. The Luna class, bright blue, everything else is gold. But I don't know if that's showing up on anyone else.
It's probably a texture not loading.
Yeah,
Weird because
it's a magic. Yeah, it's a very rare Pokemon. We caught the Luna class. It's an alternate color. Maybe.
No, it's a shiny.
The Intrepid class is white.
See, I would have figured that Starfleet would not allow you to install Pokemon on your tricorders. You know,
Oh,
Well,
Admiral
not
Quinn.
good for productivity, but
They bar
It's
it,
Admiral
but
Quinn's
I mean,
office.
they can't really enforce it.
Yeah, especially if it's Admiral Quinn doing it.
Yeah, it's really weird having that one ship such a drastically different color, especially since it's a color that doesn't look like it belongs there.
so we got a request to show off the dialogue in space.
Okay. It is a little bit different.
Ooh, beam up and talk to the guy who gives you that tutorial on how to dock an ESD.
I'll probably come up whether I want them to or not.
Exactly.
Oh, and Captain Taggart just died again. Federation tutorial is kind of lengthy.
Yeah.
All right. So
At the
that's
very least, once you deal with the Klingons, you do have the option just to go to ESD.
Well, that's right. I can skip the part with the Borg, can I?
Can you?
At least for the time. Well, I don't know if you can completely skip it, but you can start wandering around.
I don't think it'll actually let you into a Sol system.
Ooh.
I'll find out.
But here is what the space dialogue looks like. It's
Well, that's
similar, but
different.
obviously the character's been put in a box.
And it looks like you see a live background.
It's not live.
You
It's
see-
definitely the same one as they used before. But I'm kind of curious. I mean, what do they do when they don't have?
No. I mean, looking around it, you can see the background of ESD there.
Yeah, but
I'm wondering if that's live.
I don't think so because I see a lot of reuses for. I don't think so. I think it's just what they do before, where they have like custom backdrops. Or variation on that.
Well, no, I think it might be because I'm in the tutorial and talking to Eliza Flores here, and it just kind of locked off whatever I was seeing at the time.
Huh.
In the
Well,
the
maybe.
background there.
I have to say, the way ESD glows actually does look really nice.
They revoked my membership to Captain's Table.
Oh.
Wait, can anyone get there on the console version?
Yeah, it's because they're
Nope.
selling lifetime subs now.
Well, yeah,
Sort of.
that's
Oh
true.
yeah.
Like all the price, but none of the stipend.
All right, so the little direction pad for throttle control.
And also changing weapon power or system powers.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Ah, yeah, I see that.
So you can basically toggle through the presets.
Yeah.
As far as I know, you have no way of adjusting them individually.
I think probably space is going to take a little bit more getting used to than ground.
Yeah.
It doesn't look nice on my TV, I have to say. It definitely looks nice.
If you click the right stick, you will focus on a target. And basically lock on them. To lock the camera. Doing right now.
Let's say, as far as the interface goes, we don't know if or how much of this might be coming to PC, or if any of it's going to be optional, that you can use it, or I think the one comment we did get was that some of the back end improvements were going to be coming, because we know that, or at least people have stated where I've seen that the user interface system can cause some lag for people.
Yeah, it's pretty performance intensive.
Yeah, you get better frame rates when you turn it off.
And yeah, we will be getting at least some of the back end improvements.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how much else carries over. It'd be nice to get some of the stylistic changes. And actually, I think there are some stylistic changes coming, but they are, I think, on the more subtle end.
Looks like you just walk over things or run over them with your spaceship to loot.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Oh, the auto loot thing. Sometimes Champions has like certain specific items that are set to automatically jump into your inventory as soon as you touch them. Like, let's see here. In Champions, you have recognition tokens, much like you have in Star Trek Online. It's just that for the most part, recognition tokens, you see it floating there, and you walk over to it and touch it, and then it automatically zaps into your inventory.
Right. So did we want to go rescue the Azura?
Yeah, let's go do that.
Of course.
I'm sure people are sick of us flying around our space dock.
Yeah, it's boring.
Well, it's a big change from walking around Earth space dock.
That was boring too.
All right. All day, warp to sector.
So while you guys are en route, I have to ask, Duncan, I know you played one of my missions the other day. What did you think?
I liked it. I played Under Gray Skies. It was the Iconian War mission.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many others you may have made for this series.
Just the one so far.
Okay, so Under Gray Skies, and I did like it. It had some great atmosphere, really well-balanced combat. So to do the sort of the full style mission review on that one, you're asked to basically resupply a outpost that had been set up to help stop the Iconians, I believe. And it's just kind of a frontline scenario. A little bit, I got the feeling of, was it the DS9 episode where they're the battle for, what was it?
AR-558.
AR-558. So if it kind of a very similar setup where you go down there and then you're basically put on the front lines after sort of being called down for more technical purposes. And the mission basically proceeds as this sort of frontline scenario. So it doesn't sort of go too complicated. Like at one point you have to go and rescue a downed shuttle and then come back and find that the base has been pretty torn up. But it's got some great character work, great atmosphere work, and some pretty good combat scenarios too, with like holding the front lines, coming back, and artillery barrages, and then some choice lines that were inspired by Vietnam-era war movies.
And Aliens, of course.
And Aliens, actually...
Which is actually set up like a Vietnam-era war movie, really.
Yeah. So, yeah, altogether, some pretty great work, and I liked it because it did a lot more with the base maps than I generally tend to do. So for coming for where I've been doing, it's a very, very good change of pace. From just the full-on custom map builds to, it's sort of like, making the most out of a pretty simplified map style, which I really liked.
Yeah, I kind of liked the idea of essentially building almost like one little area and then sticking with it for like almost the entire mission.
Yeah.
And really getting to know that area and be almost attached to the area as if it was a character.
And I've been thinking of doing something similar for a while, and this has gotten me thinking about doing it again sometime.
Already went on without me.
Oh yeah, I already entered the mission, so we'll see if... Oh, okay, there's 2 ships there, we're good. I'm going through the cutscene right now, and it just cut to the angle of where we could see what's going on here. But yeah, that was Under Gray Skies, and it also, for people who've played AEI recently, it has Dagon, is he operations? Oh crap, I forgot. Okay, yeah, our operations
He's
officer.
the
for
O'Brien
Starbase
equivalent.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
And he suffers from horrible PTSD because of that mission.
yeah. So definitely good angle to explore maybe in my next mission, since I am going back to Starbase Magellan again.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have that character already in the roster for part 2.
I do have a follow-up mission plan for that. He does not play a huge role in it.
Let's see. I'm just trying to learn how to use multiple powers. So when in space, I've got 2 tag stations on this steam runner. And I've got 1 power that I can just basically set up. So like hit B, and then that power activates. So torpedo high yield. But then I've also got beam fire at will. To activate that, I hold B, use the radio menu, point at what I want, and then hit the right trigger. So you can do it pretty quickly, but not quite as quickly as on the PC.
Kind of reminiscent of one of the first sort of modern console games I played was Dragon Age 2 when I got my Xbox 360 back in the day.
Yeah.
And it had kind of that similar radial menu.
Yeah, so did Halo Wars. That's how it got around building an RTS for the console.
I'm
I
kind
always
of
wondered how
wondering
that worked.
one thing I was kind of hoping they would do is something like the old Street Fighter games, where you would push A, then push A, B in rapid succession, and it would do something different than simply tapping A.
That's a little hard to kind of keep straight.
Well, actually, some of it does. I mean, there's some of these things where you are supposed to hold down a button, and that does one thing, where just clicking it does another thing.
Yeah, if you could do it, you can do it in rapid succession. So for me, fire at will is we've got 2 floors. Oh wait, let's see.
Although it would be really funny if Cryptic were to put in those, like, the old fighting game combos, you know, A, B, left, right, B.
Well, for me, I was just going to say for fire will, it's hold B, left or right, and then trigger. So I got a little bit of that going on.
Well, see, because I was just thinking, because when you can customize which button presses do what, it just seemed like the sort of thing people would want to try doing. I mean, when I think of ways to do multiple commands with 6 buttons total, I don't know, it's just the first thing that jumped into my head.
I like being able to fire at any time, like, you know, basic shooter mode, but it's just like, I can now keep myself a little bit more entertained walking around a map. I just think that thing should be shot. I'm going to fire again. I'm going to keep firing.
It's interesting that they don't have the mini pictures of your bridge officers and instead just their branch insignia.
Yeah.
I guess that works a little bit better for the just the tactical side, because you know, like, oh, my science officer is down. I go camera distance again. Yeah, PC players can also take this as the full lighting engine and work in mission and in published format too.
Very true.
So yeah, so far I haven't gotten like a psychedelic live show or psychedelic light show so much, but I haven't done a direct comparison of, say, this specific map to what it looks like in the what it looks like on Triple right now. Although I noticed ESD looks basically identical.
Well, I'm sure they're going to do some iterations on Tribble to get it up to where they want it.
Yeah.
I sure hope they do, just for the sake of Nukara.
Yeah. But yeah, just in general, running around here, you're sort of taking advantage, cover a little bit more positioning, and since it's a lot easier to move and coordinate that with firing, it does take a very different flavor. So it's not there's a lot of ability management, but there's also a lot more, I'd say, a little bit more strategy involved when it comes to just moving yourself about.
That sounds a lot like my observations of the differences between Stowe and Neverwinter ground combat.
I will say I am not a fan of the ground targeting. It is really hard to get targets on enemies.
Well,
If you
in Neverwinter, it doesn't lock targets at all. It's whatever you currently have the cursor pointed at is what you're shooting at.
you can lock on with left trigger.
Yeah, but it's really hard to differentiate enemies from friends. It's just as likely that you yeah, see, Terrell runs in front and suddenly a lock locks on her.
No,
luckily,
it's
we're
not
still
too bad.
in a relatively easy area.
Yeah. Although that'll probably be just being able to quickly lock on teammates. That does play well for engineering and science builds. That like, hey, I want to buff a teammate. Yeah, with tactical early on, I just want to shoot things. Yeah, it is kind of annoying.
Well, my only real experience with the Neverwinter system was playing a Tiefling control wizard, where it would be, like single target attack, area attack, different single target attack, and so on and so forth. But one thing with that, though, is that a lot of the time it would be like, okay, zap that guy twice. Now he's weak enough that when I use the area attack, he'll die. So switch targets, zap the other guy, hit the area attack. Now they're both dead.
Hey. I'm going to use my magic powers to summon plasma to take care of these miscreants.
I see you are also tactical then?
Yeah. I decided I was going to basically, commit myself to building one character, and I figured on this type of interface it's probably easiest to pick up tactical. I picked up Ferengi snail juice. I'm rich.
Wait, did you actually get loot for gassing the guys?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
That's another thing is that all the drops are auto pickup now.
That's actually very good.
Yeah, it does simplify that.
Because there's actually one thing I've noticed in Champions that's nice is how a lot of items in Champions is, well, like I said earlier, you touch the item and it jumps into your inventory. Not for regular loot, though. The stuff like weapons and armor, those you still have to pick up manually. It's just the sorted other things.
I'm just amazed. Through my cutscene firing like a maniac.
Oh, you're still in the cutscene. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I just beamed over.
Yeah,
the crew.
Okay, I haven't beamed over yet. Oh, the crew's gone. I was just marveling at the fact that each one of my compressed and phaser bolts has a individual dynamic lighting element attached to it now.
That is pretty cool.
It was like, oh, it looks pretty. Well,
Yeah,
Halo's had that for a while.
Like when we got to Force Awakens and the lightsabers finally actually cast a light on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do that in the prequels?
Not near as much. It's interesting for us, having played something like Stranded in Space a million times, playing it in this new format.
It's more fun. I gotta say that. Because whenever I play Stranded in Space on the PC, I'm just impatient. Like, yeah, let's just get over it. Come on. And this is like, Orions. I'm appreciating the fact that there's guys here. There's combat. It's not just a gateway to endgame grindy stuff. It's just like, it is like going back to the old days, but with shiny new stuff and a steam runner class.
So would you say that everything old is new again?
Yeah, pretty much. Everything old is new again. Oh no, what's going to happen to Captain Brott?
Same thing that always happens to Captain Brott.
And we lost our ship because we didn't bring along any of the engineers. Actually,
You have to bring an engineer. You should always know this.
so
Well done. You saved that crew just in time.
I sure did.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Is that the only mission in the game where it has a branched cutscene? Just something that popped into my head is that I don't remember any other mission where it has a different cutscene. Okay, never mind. There's that one Dyson mission.
And then Frozen, of course, where you have to decide whether to help What's-His-Face or not. Obasek.
I've never not helped him. I always think like, I'm going to do something different this time. It's like, I
like Obasek.
I keep getting seduced by his sultry voice every time.
Exactly. Little spy.
Alright, so just to show, this is what the mini-map looks like, and you can hover over a planet and plot a course.
also get the galaxy map too, so everything in there is pretty equivalent.
There we go.
So, while we're proceeding through this, do we have any other news?
We do. There was a note for the Foundry on the Redshirt patch today.
There was.
Nothing big. But,
Remember what it says?
The Foundry apparently shooter mode was not working in the Foundry editor and the Foundry preview, and that is getting fixed.
Yay!
I was asking if anybody actually uses that, and Canandra said that he uses shooter mode in the Foundry preview.
I just don't like shooter mode.
It didn't work for me on PC personally, but I think it's definitely working here.
I mean, honestly, I would like shooter mode if I had three hands, because I have one hand I'm using to move my character around, another hand that I'm using to aim, and then I need a third hand to select skills.
I'm with you there. Is currently attending a ritual to honor the end of the Call Rec holiday. He will be done soon, but the
Apparently, time waits for no Duncan.
Yeah, keep going.
Run faster! What?
Faster.
Your ship won't fly that fast.
Faster.
Overload the warp core.
Don't worry, we can
Who
just
cares if it
respawn
blows
if we
up?
blow up. We can just respawn. I'm used to Warzone Firefight in Halo 5, so. My console trigger finger is itching.
Ah, yes, this mission. The first mission in the game where I had the urge to repeat the mission just so I could shoot the guy. Of course, also, it didn't help that they kind of telegraphed that, well, I suppose I'll skip with the spoilers.
I think you can spoil this one okay.
I mean, you have the ambassador who acts extremely surly, and Vulcans don't normally do that.
I am quite angry, and I don't know what this fool is thinking, not letting me into this place.
Exactly.
I just want to sure. I talked to the guy. I'm like, this couldn't possibly be a Vulcan, much less an ambassador.
He's just jealous of my third Lego, which I don't have.
This is ridiculous. Access to Pajem is strictly limited to preserve the sanctity of the monastery. No outsiders are permitted to land without the expressed permission of...
Don't you just think mouths are weird? Oh, flappy. How do you get used to that?
Peace and long life. Do you seek knowledge of the ancestors?
Bruce, you remember this is one of those missions that never originally had voiceover, because it's from way back in launch.
On your honor as a Starfleet officer, that you will protect the gem from harm. Sokas says his reasons for wanting to speak to the Abbot.
If I can hit the thing. There we go.
Do you have any questions? How should I know? He is a small man with small concerns. Thankfully, he has listened to reason, and our journey won't be delayed any longer. I am ready to leave now. Is the shuttle prepared for departure?
I'm not an alien. Now, Duncan, I love that both you and I decided to wear the black leather down to Vulcan.
Yeah. It would kind of
This is
look.
impractical.
What are you talking about? Starfleet uniforms are the height of comfort. So says Worf.
Oh, I had imagined by the 25th
apparently
century.
armored.
Yeah, armored, maybe built-in air conditioning. That'd be great.
Maybe it's made
Their
out of
clothes
cooling
technology is
thermal
light
gel
years
or
beyond
something.
ours.
And there's a hidden system of fans.
We gotta wait for the slow Vulcan. I mean,
Oh boy.
I mean the Vulcan.
Which one is he? Is he a Vulcan just trying to psych us out?
I don't think you even have to wait for him. Do you?
Well, you do a point.
It feels nicest if we wait for the ambassador.
I need to...
Warping out.
And Andorian and Vulcan just seem so much further apart back in Enterprise.
Yeah. Yeah, especially Pajem. It's like, wait, I can see Procyon 5 from here.
It's only a model.
We're all
Yes,
just watching.
Starfleet is here to save the day at Vega, and will never ever be back.
Nope, never.
You have a foul shape changer aboard your ship. Turn the
Which is
creature
funny, if you
over to
ask
us,
Quinn about
or
it
we will destroy
after
my word.
you back to ESD, he basically says no, they weren't able to remove the Borg. Vega is lost. But of course, I've already expressed my opinions
Yes.
on that subject before.
We can use tactics, focus fire. I just got a tech upgrade.
Okay. So you
That's
got to
good.
drop for a tech upgrade when they haven't put the upgrade system in yet?
Upgrade system's in.
Oh, upgrade is in?
Upgrade is in, yeah.
Oh,
What? Hold on. Okay, well, we'll go through this real quick. I just got I got a green tech upgrade, and then I just got a purple upgrade. I got a very
You're-
rare engineering upgrade. Yeah, they're giving out these things out
you're
like candy.
raking it.
Yeah. Got to verify this. Inventory, let's see what I got going on. Replicator. Okay, so it's taking me through the replicator right now. Yeah, I've got 2 tech upgrades.
Your inventory has a replicator.
There we go.
Allows you to buy and sell items.
Not sure I'm entirely going to like the inventory management here.
Not sure. Some of it could be just because this is I'm now technically a freebie character. I don't have all the unlocks I'm using. Yeah, I can see that. You
Ooh,
do have
I'm
a
thinking
sword.
about can actually set this up as an ambush instead of just charge DBS, DBS, DBS.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm watching a Klingon just move back and forth. So so you're approaching right now, and I'm gonna charge in. Da, da, da.
So, Duncan, do you want to talk about the character you created for console?
Oh yeah, so this is Jigoro from the SSF series. So I have no idea how the character backstory actually works out now that she's starting off as a member of Starfleet and jumping straight into Vega without the rest of the team. But I just, from recollection, did the best job I could at recreating the sliders. I could actually use the same sliders from the PC version because all that's equivalent. But yeah, this is the one of the lead characters from my longest running series. And yeah, that's kind of it. I could go into like the full backstory but to fill airtime. I could also talk about what I made recently since I did publish something.
Go for it.
So I made another AEI mission. Epoch Part 1 starts a 2-part series where I resolve what was going on in Apex and connect all my AEI missions together. So that's out and it's in review right now, and there's 3 people who have played it. And I just got another tech upgrade.
Wait, how many tech upgrades have you picked up?
I've picked up 3 in the last 5 minutes.
Wow,
I have
impressive.
not picked up any. Quit stealing my tech
Maybe 'cause
upgrades.
I'm digging them all. I wonder if it's
Alright.
like first come first serve now for loot drops. If we're seeing the same
Probably.
ones and two. Because I don't like they haven't like been. There's not the need or greed system that I haven't seen. So it's maybe just that now.
Well, neither greed sucked anyways. So
Yeah.
It could
yeah,
just be round robin. They may have changed what the default.
that would be nice.
Yeah, I've noticed that whenever I've walked towards something, I've picked it up. So we'll experiment next time there's loot.
I see now my deception.
But let's see. For Epoch, it starts over at the Archer system. Doesn't require any specialized knowledge of what's come before that. So if you, say, haven't played Apex, which I'm not quite sure how many people in our audience wouldn't have gone into the AEI anthology, but it basically is sort of starting off its own thing with the basically the starting premise of finding out what was in the thing you brought back from the end of my last AEI mission. I'd say the other feature worth noting is that it does have a new custom ground map for Starbase Magellan.
Bothersome creatures.
And lastly, I did also publish a KDF version of Apex. So change the dialogue. No major updates with that one, but that's also in review for the KDF faction. So we do have one AEI mission now that Klingon players can play.
Okay, so question. How do I... Okay, so I just got my first kit power. I equipped it. And now I can access it from the left bumper, yeah. At the rotary menu. How do I set that to be the default thing to hit with my left bumper?
Left stick. Click it when you're pointing down. So once you're pointing down, it'll say, So it'll say is set to quick power, and that also applies for space as well.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on. My next project is going to be the part 2 for Epoch. I did make a change today to the name. I posted this on Twitter that I had an AEI/SSF tag, and I've just made that AEI because I just got to the point where I'm just typing out the name or just looking at the name. And the name is Epoch, but it was Epoch Part 1 AEI SSF, and that would just kind of push the boundaries for me. It's like, it's just too much information contained there. I can put a little bit in the description saying, okay, there's continuation of the SSF series. You definitely don't need to play SSF to understand what's going on, since it's all basically what's there is there.
So the tags were longer than the actual mission name?
By a long way. I mean, still longer, because Epoch and then Part 1 is already at the same length as Epoch, but it was 3-4 times as long. So it's just like, no, I can't I can't do this. So I just changed it back to AEI. So to find it, just go ahead and search either the name, Epoch, E-P-O-C-H, not Epo, which is actually pretty easy typo. But you can also just search AEI in Review tab now, and that mentions out. And I guess the only other note to make for it, it is an all-ground mission, so you can actually team up on it. And there's only one bit where that should... there's only one part of the mission where that won't completely break something. If you say you have to run through a portal, don't leave people behind.
Okay, so I really like this. I'm on the ground on Vega, and I get a hail from the ship, and I'm talking to Vrel here, who I do not have on my away team, and the background for her is the ship, the bridge background. So it's like a little, it's like in the show where the camera cuts away back to the bridge, and they're talking to the captain there, and so it's like intercutting.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Run away!
Definitely seems like something they had to put in. I have not seen an example of a background that doesn't, or a dialogue that doesn't have a background. I know they exist in the PC version.
So, did you guys hear about the thing with Battle Group Omega?
So it went
Yeah,
away?
Battle Group Omega is going away.
Well, I just looked in the Foundry, and apparently there are 5 system locations currently in the Noro quadrant, and only Noro itself is usable as a Foundry door. So that apparently does not, in fact, impact Foundry doors.
So I believe it was like the last place you could see the old Jupiter, right?
Actually,
Or was
So-
it the old?
no, not really. But we still have it as a Foundry asset.
Yeah. So here, Dragoon, see what happens when you pick up that loot.
Or can you even see that?
This is Captain.
You see loot.
Hang
Oh
on.
no, we're warping out of the system.
Or did he already touch the loot ball and have the loot ball?
I don't see any loot.
disappear?
Oh, okay. So I think it's separate then, because I saw loot on the Undine Dreadnought that we just blew up. So if you didn't see any,
Yeah,
It's
that would be
possible that they have it configured so that it only shows you your loot.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I
which
think
would be
that's what's
consistent
going
with
That
on.
would be
Round robin.
smart.
Now that we're getting out of the mission, I can double check.
I have skill points.
Beam us the hell out.
See anything related to looting?
You know, looking at the beta quadrant map and seeing all of the different things that are currently usable as Foundry doors, it's really, really weird looking. Because you have Klingon space at the bottom, which has only a handful of Foundry doors scattered throughout it. Then you have that Borg space area around Noro up in the upper right, which also only has a handful of things in it. And those are like empty voids on the map or something.
Well, and that all comes back from we never had those as Foundry doors originally because Federation characters couldn't go in those sectors. Some of them.
That doesn't apply to Borg space though, because only half of Borg space or less, maybe, is usable as a Foundry door. I mean, also they added Foundry doors in the system update for things like Aspet, which didn't exist way back when. Denabula Triaxa, which they added in the update.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
Oh god! Someone just
Not
acquired a
sure
T6
what they're
ship.
studying.
Oh,
No,
man.
it's like
Oh, they gotta change that.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Let's see if you can disable it in the settings.
Nope. I have been all over the settings. Because you just on the PC side you disable them in the notification settings, which is a drop down from the drop down menu item, and obviously that's not here. Ah, you're already all over there.
Oh yeah, I just set myself down on navigate.
I kind of wonder how doffing is going to work in this. I suppose I can reduce it down. But I can kind of see why they didn't want to throw too many systems at launch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know the way console gamers play, they want to finish the game and move on to the next one. Sorry, I had to do that because people keep throwing around so many things, talking about, well, console gamers do it this way, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever.
I wouldn't say we're any of us that different.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought on the matter. Is
When you
that
get down to
gamers
it.
are gamers. It doesn't really matter what they do.
Well,
Yeah, pretty
guys,
much.
I think you're right. We will probably not see department heads on console. Mostly because it doesn't actually do anything.
It feels nice.
Actually,
Yeah.
to be honest, the only thing department heads do on the PC version is attach a picture to the button you click to bring up a list of DOF missions.
It makes it official.
Well,
If you say like, hey, it's my chief medical officer, I've set it as my department head.
I'll tell you what,
Exactly.
I liked it when I could set the holographic TOS bridge crew as their appropriate jobs.
Ah.
Oh, I went into the mission. You're not
It
here.
was completely symbolic, of course,
Oh,
but
okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't see you gone in yet.
Sorry. Just so used to you running ahead.
too close to this cube.
I was trying to wait. Ball impulse. Fire it well.
I really wish that we could alphabetize the list of starting mission doors, because it is no way alphabetized.
Yeah, I just go by physical location. I don't. I was like, I'm not gonna go. I gave up very early on that one.
Well, see, part of the reason for that, though, is that on the space ones, at least, sometimes you can't actually see the name of it because it will only show you the parts of the name that fit inside the map square. The gray area outside the actual galaxy map apparently will not show you names of things. So if you click on something that's near the edge, the actual name will be cut off. You can't see it.
I just realized that attacking 3 ships simultaneously is slightly riskier now.
Oh, only slightly?
Hang on, I'll
That's
come to the
okay.
rescue.
That's good. I'm not dying.
There's a you
Surprise.
could probably handle him.
Oh yeah. I was just like, oh wait a minute, I actually have to think about this because I haven't given myself very, very rare Mark II loot from other characters.
Actually, nowadays, you don't need to use loot. Just mass produce a few things.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Craft a few things, or
I mean,
you know, open some lockbox
are practically
weapons.
free to manufacture, and they almost need to be purple.
I just picked up another tech upgrade.
There's
Man.
some loot down for me there. Let's see. Good.
Yeah, I don't see anything on my screen on.
Okay. Obviously, you are in good with RNGesus, so you know, go open some lockboxes right now.
No, well, RNGesus forsake to me when I picked up what was it? 8 R&D boxes. I mean, I went into it like, okay, if I don't get the promo ship, I'm perfectly fine with that because what I needed most was the Lobby. Because I know. Here, just a second. I just gotta select the right powers now. I gotta think about this slightly. Okay, there we go. Anyway, though, my primary Fed character needs new ground weapons, so I'm hoping that there's gonna be something good in the next box that comes out. Maybe some sphere builder ground weapons, which I would absolutely love. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go for the Boolean cannon.
Boolean cannon is pretty fun.
I got that from my engineer, which is it works great for that setup. I was like, this could probably work well for my tech if nothing else comes out, and they've done a pretty good job for Lopi store weapons recently. So I'm hopeful. So that's what I picked up the boxes for. Also, just to get more R&D material, since I was running a little low on that one, especially on the the various perks and bonuses.
You mean you didn't run out of rubidium?
That's all right.
I was getting a lit. No, rubidium I'm fine on. It's radiogenic particles I was getting a little low on.
Oh, those. That's one of the purple.
We're in your debt.
Believe it or not, I've actually had people tell me that it's easier to acquire radiogenic particles than rubidium.
Yeah, because you can just play Crystalline Entity, and pick those up in at 30 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Also Z particles. That's the one. Actually, Z particles is what I run out of most.
Yeah, that was the second one I keep hearing people complain about.
Oh yeah, we really took his shields down.
I've got the tachyon beam.
I used it too simultaneously, and it's like, no, he can't handle that. I'm actually appreciating tachyon beam.
Well, they recently rebalanced it so that the effect it has, without being buffed, is actually a lot stronger than it was before, and that it doesn't actually get as much of a power boost from buffs as it used to, but it still gets a pretty hefty boost, I guess.
Working well here. Oh god, I set it on the simulator. I've got to prioritize the target. Oh god. Oh wait. Ah. I can choose not to fire at this thing now. Oh wait, no I can't. Because I'm stuck on auto fire.
Yeah, it's all auto fire. What are you supposed to do?
It's like, oh wait a minute, I can just not hit the right trigger. Oh wait, no, I still got to. It still auto fires, which is actually nice for combat. You got to, well, torpedoes don't auto fire. That's fine. You always have to be a little strategic about those.
Can't you set torpedoes to auto fire if you want to?
In the PC version, yes, not the console version.
Well, I mean, in the PC version, one thing some people will do is to take the what's the best way to put this? Remap the keybinds so that pushing the space bar tells your ship to fire everything.
Oh yeah, that's what I've got. Actually, I don't even have that. All I do is just target an enemy and I auto fire everything. So yeah, it's not a difficult experience here to either control your fire for the most part, except for energy weapons. But yeah, here you have a button right bumper for torpedoes, right trigger for energy weapons.
I wonder if having the controls simplified like that changes how people build their builds, because I know.
One with no. I mean,
I think they're still going to go all
change
energy
what
weapons.
People do builds. I think it will change the way they play builds, but I don't think it will actually change the builds themselves.
I'm looking forward to using a dual heavy cannon escort. Because
one thing that I did.
I was just going to say the some of the best abilities for Breamfire wheel builds, those aren't here. So yeah, it's probably not going to be as potent or overpowering because you don't have Chemosite and you don't have well, you have some of the ability to buff your power levels a lot, but just coordinating all those abilities is going to be a little bit tougher now. So something simplified that's maybe a little bit easier to use on the fly might actually pay off a little bit more here.
Well, one thing that some people have mentioned is that you can set certain skills to activate as soon as you enter combat. I think that will actually have a big impact on how that actually plays out in practice.
Okay. Yeah, I just had that. I thought I had that. Well, I've tried to use that before, but it wasn't working. But it just worked now for my torpedo ability. I just noticed that it wasn't working before, and now it's like, oh, okay, apparently it's working. Maybe it's just those ones that you have in the background, because I try to use it on what I had currently running. So I don't know if you can. Yeah, I don't know if you can auto execute powers that you have quick selected, but the background ones it seems you can. We'll test it out a little bit more here. So that should help the coordination problem, but at the same time, too, it's a little bit more sort of a feeling of a dogfight or a space air combat game, like Hawks. Just because you sort of have a little bit more immediate feel for your ship, so I think just using a escort build with cannons is probably just going to be pretty fun.
Well, one thing that I started to experiment with, just because the concept of it amused me, not necessarily because I thought it was going to come out well, but because I wanted to experiment with it, was a single cannon build on a scimitar.
Not sure I've seen anybody ever use single cannons.
Well, here's the thing. You can fire cannon scatter volley with single cannons just fine. It's just that it does somewhat less damage than dual cannons.
Naturally.
Also, there's the fact that certain ships simply are not maneuverable enough to point at the target. I mean, you can do decloak alphas with anything, no matter how slow it is.
I remember a
But
few single cannon guilds way back when cannons were king. That you wanted to do it on ships that didn't support dual cannons.
Yeah, I used it on a Klingon carrier that was tier 5 way back in the day, and that was kind of it. And I didn't really use that ship too much.
Although, I was, in the process of building for the various 26th century ships, which I have, of course, at T6, customized to be TOS ships, naturally. And for the escort, before I got out of the 23rd century, I was looking for, what to bring with me. And unfortunately, there were no TOS style dual heavy cannons, so I brought just dual cannons, and I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible. I wanted dual heavy. Everybody's always do dual heavy, and actually just killing things just fine.
Yeah,
it's got the same
dual cannons.
Dual cannons and dual heavy cannons is one of those. It's the difference is like in the 1%. People like dual heavy cannons because the power management is theoretically slightly better.
Yeah, and I think I think the crit damage kind of works out the same because you have more opportunities, but you just don't get out as much out of it when you have the slower firing.
To a certain extent, DHC was really ever just for the uber DPSers, and it wasn't really for the people that wanted to do a decent amount of damage, and I guess you could say didn't feel the need to kill everything immediately.
I just go dual heavy cannons because it sounds better. Or at least.
I also remember back when quads sucked.
Oh yeah, quad cannons now, damage times 4, and then you can upgrade them to 14. Those are great.
And the nice thing was they gave away the Romulan ship that uses those.
Yeah.
In one of those giveaways not too long ago.
I still haven't used it yet. Or at least, I haven't used the quad cannons on the Romulan yet, but I've used them on the Klingon side for my main build. A Super Matha Raptor.
Matha?
Matha.
I got a pretty sweet dual heavy cannon build going on my D4X, which is just... And now that as of, as of Tuesday, I got done with all of the rep on my temporal agent, so now I can get all the rep gear at Mark 13 Ultra Rare. Which is very nice.
There is one rep that I am not close to having finished yet, but everything else is pretty much done for me.
Ah, that's funny.
Yeah.
It says I can train
just picked-
Cannon Rapid Fire 3, except that the crafting system isn't in yet.
Yeah, that's one of those things that kind of makes it obvious that they're planning on adding it, and they just haven't done it yet.
You can train your bridge officer in a new
Unless the training system works a little bit differently. So if you want to actually train an officer, you get the manual and you go to the crew station, and then you select basically the appropriate slot on the and then you can train up. So it could be automatic now, back in the old days, but yeah, they're probably going to add crafting at a certain point. And why am I flying up that high?
I don't know.
Why did I navigate there? I was going to Bomari's system and I was going up, and I was like, wait a minute, I guess I may have broken auto navigate.
Does the guy need a reason to fly high?
Sometimes auto navigate just does stupid screwball things.
All right. Where next?
And of course, another thing that isn't in that they, I'm sure, will be adding is Agents of Yesterday content.
Yeah, and they pretty much said, hey, we'll get it out eventually, but...
Because Temporal Agent Cray is here, and at the moment he would have no other purpose than for greeting 23rd century captains.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, okay, next to next to the Cordon and Una system, do we have unsurveyed territory as a location in the sector block?
Sorry.
Okay, so where I'm at right now, south of Pollux, west of Cordon, there's a system called unsurveyed territory, and it's blank.
Yeah, that's part of the Agents of Yesterday stuff.
Okay, so I thought that was what was going on. I just couldn't, because it's next to Cordon. But
Yeah,
I
and
wasn't
you
quite
can see-
sure.
You can see the Deneva system with the K-13 station around it, too.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Still there.
Ooh, so many Tier 0 ships.
Up.
I was
So
watching
many
you on the,
weaklings, so
galaxy
few
map.
quantum torpedoes.
Nimbus way up there. Oh, that'll be fun.
So I have been working on something in the Foundry.
Ooh.
Gasp.
I built a sort of working elevator.
Mm,
Wow.
I saw that.
is
That was
cool.
good.
So yeah, I mean, obviously it's not really moving, but it's trying to give the simulation that it is like ascending. While you sit in it for a while, it's not very fast.
So I guess it's just one of those illusion of movement things, and it doesn't actually move at all.
Camera shakes. Yeah, it's a pretty. That was a pretty nice effect. Pretty good combination. I did like the noise, the camera shake, and it's like, oh, that's an elevator. More than I think we've had in other parts of the game.
Yeah, I mean, so it's got a bunch of those Klingon generators, the ones that kind of are horizontal, and they have those bars that spin around a core. And so I just embedded those inside of a grooved wall, and so you can only see the bars, and that kind of makes them look like they're slowly going down.
Yeah. And you got a YouTube video of that too.
Yeah, I got it playing right now, so just people can see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But
I have not actually watched this yet.
yeah, so I mean, and P. Sutherland suggested, well, maybe you could have like a heavy load, so to make it look like it's like straining to get up, like it's a cargo elevator that's designed for like super high torque but really low speed. And so I actually added in a few crates and whatnot, and it actually makes it look really good.
Okay, so can you explain how you achieved this?
Klingon generators, they're embedded in the wall, and they're basically spinning. And I just stacked a bunch of them leading up, so it kind of looks like the grooves are like the bars that spin are like grooves in a track.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I've been struggling with that asteroid base in part 3, trying to come up with
An elevator that's not an elevator.
oh yeah, just things to make the map interesting. So that is actually what I've been working.
Very cool. I have been also working on a little something, just kind of the early stages of, how to make a racetrack in space. Set up so that you could like race shuttles around it with a bunch of people if you wanted, or kind of create some kind of narrative of using NPC shuttles. Obviously, we can go a lot faster than the fastest patrol route that we can set. So it'd be kind of hard to actually make them competitive with the player, but you can find some other way to make a narrative out of it. And so far, I've tried those. I believe they're labeled as Ryza satellites. That they're almost like a little half circle shape.
Oh yeah.
2 of those to make a sort of a ring kind of a thing. But they're really huge.
Yeah,
and they don't look all that good.
I've
when
used
you
them
have
to
a
connect.
ton of them.
Yeah, I've used them to connect planets together.
So I'm thinking more about that. And the other, there's some other questions that kind of come up when you're thinking about this. Do you want to do elevation changes? Do you want to have obstacles?
This
asteroids?
is reminding me of how there was that one mission we actually played on the Roundtable a long time ago, where they kind of sort of did something like that.
Yeah, and he used all those Borg space buildings to kind of create a tunnel sort of thing. And I'm not quite going for that. I'm more looking for the open space kind of a thing. But you need something to have, obviously a little ring or something like that for players to go through so they know where the course is.
Do we have the temporal gate in space?
We have transwarp gate, and
yes.
we have the temporal portal effect. Oh, one quick note here. We did get the patch notes for tomorrow.
Yes.
Is it the same as the Redshirt?
Probably. I just wanted to make a few notes here. There is an update coming to Defera Ground Battle Zone. Amazingly. Really? And all it's doing is removing what actually made it fun for me, which is the ability to glitch in your own bridge officers in the power plant. So that map is entirely dead to me now.
Wait, they updated it just to fix the bridge officer spawning glitch?
Yep, of all the things, they just fixed the bridge officer spawning. The other, this is probably the most bizarre update I've seen, because I don't think this applies to anyone. Resolved an issue while female Riemann chests were not appearing while wearing this Hizari upper uniform. We have that in the Foundry, but nowhere else, as far as I know. We don't have Hizari uniforms.
I don't think they've released that anywhere as a playable uniform. Yeah.
Like, it's great. It's a great uniform piece, and I used it for Starfleet security because Ross's kind of iconic bandolier thing, which is his major change to the uniform, that's the Hizari piece, and I'd love to get that, but we don't have it as far as I know, unless they're maybe adding more stuff to the dilithium store.
I suppose it's possible.
Which would be nice, because those actually, Hizari and Ocampa are pretty nice uniform sets.
No, it's not going to be nice because the prices will be exorbitant.
They sometimes put in patch notes that are utterly mystify me. And that's one of them, for sure.
Yeah, or it could be a technical fix, like just the developers going through, checking out to see if there's been a problem with any of the forms, and then just updating that. But yeah, that could technically apply to the Foundry, but except we don't only have Hazari male. We don't have Hazari female.
Yeah, that makes it even more interesting because
There are no Hazari females
Yet.
yet. Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe
I'm just throwing
is
that
this-
out there.
Oh wait, I've just realized I've gone off the map and engaged Birds of Prey, which I don't need to. Oh well, to war.
Yes, go attack him while I take care of the
Yeah.
disruptors.
Pax is asking what the A button does because there's that little thing next to the minimap that has A on it. A is kind of your go-to interact button,
Yeah.
one thing, and you,
When you hold it-
You're all three
Yeah,
of
if
us
you hold
gonna
it
say the
down, it
same
brings
thing.
up the list of options, and usually anything you can interact with around you.
It's kind of like the F button, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. It's a little bit more involved, but
It brings up a new menu that you did not have on PC, but otherwise it does share a lot of functions with the F button.
yeah, that's how you get to the chat, how you do various
Change
things
camera
that,
distance. I got another tech upgrade.
Console smiles on you, Brother Drogyn. Or Duncan, sorry.
I ain't been getting no
Well-
tech.
Disruptor.
Right, transport disruptors. Yeah, where are the?
Rogue Ice is asking if you can skip cutscenes in the console. You can using the Y button. Now the question is, after that question is, there were certain cutscenes on PC that are unskippable to this day. Can you skip them on console? I have no idea.
No, you can't.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
See, because
Yeah,
part of the reason why
probably
did the devs make them unskippable is because stuff is happening.
Behind the scenes. Remember Taco saying, if they have to move objects around and, transfer between maps, sometimes you just can't skip that particular.
It's one of those pay no attention to the man behind the curtain things.
Yes.
Yeah. Quick, beam down before my ship explodes.
Mine already exploded twice. I just made the mistake of doing Mirror Advanced, but I kind of realized that after I started that the character I chose had a blank skill tree.
Oof.
Whoops. Let me tell you, that was not a fun couple of weeks when the skill revamp went live, because obviously I had 40 plus characters at the time.
I've just never actually bothered with going to the effort of reskilling everyone. And
I don't think I did either
forgot
until
which characters I hadn't done it on yet.
yeah.
And I
Until
just
did.
remember that this is one of the characters that I used to like doing mirror with because her ship could tank like half the Terran Armada. But that was before the skill revamp, and also it kind of sort of worked that way because of the fact that I had my skill tree filled out. And wait, it's not.
I think I finally got them all filled out the last time they did the Crystalline Entity event, because I wanted to do it on everybody.
Yeah, but Crystalline Entity, you really didn't need it.
I didn't need it, but it was a good excuse.
I only have 4 or 5 characters in the game, so it was actually easier for me to respec.
Yeah, I know. First world problems and all that, right?
Yeah. Although what I tend to do with
it's
mine,
a problem I've created for myself.
Yeah. What I've tended to do with mine is that they're let's see, all but 2 are Alia. So if I want to sort of have the experience of creating a new character, I'll just revamp that character. I'll just change the appearance, change the backstory, and kind of even just kind of go through some of the early missions if I really want to go through those again.
Also, there's apparently a glitch that makes it so that when you do mirror on difficulties higher than normal, the elite marks that you get are always Terran gravimetric inducers, no matter what you... Actually, I'm not sure it's a glitch or not. I'm really not sure.
I wouldn't
That
say
may
it's
be
like...
intentional.
Yeah, it might be intentional.
I mean,
But then again, maybe not, because you can choose your marks otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, because I didn't choose Terran marks. I chose temporal marks.
You'd think logically it would give you a temporal.
Which
The,
queue are we talking about?
Mirror invasion.
Yeah, I know. And when you're doing the disconnected, you have the choice of marks, and then you also have the choice of elite marks that are associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that they wanted to make it a little bit less useful, intentionally. Like, oh, well, we'll just give them one mark type because it would be too nice if they just had everything.
Well, at least now you can turn your regular marks into elite marks.
Mm-hmm. That's quite useful.
Wish it didn't have that cooldown, but whatever. Everything must be 20 hours.
Yeah.
Of course. Otherwise, people would do everything in one day.
Trying to continue with team, but it wasn't letting me. Oh, Cat's going a little wild now. Just had a total eclipse of the one lamp I've got going on here. Well, Cat goes right over it. It's like all of a sudden it's in shadow.
Passing out
the
the new lighting
days
effects.
are getting shorter.
Dynamic lighting.
You know, I kind of think that cats have figured out that they can do that to annoy humans.
Hey, and actually, once the lighting goes live, they'll be able to do that in Stowe too, because we have cat pets. Remember?
Yes. Ah.
If they walk in front of a light, it's going to block it out.
I've got to make a mission where there's just like a total eclipse of the sun button cats. The end of times is here.
Cat's apocalypse.
Do we have cats in the Foundry?
Yes, we do.
They're in as NPCs.
Yeah, yeah. I had mission information cat in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In Apex, and then in Epoch, I've got a cat as the emergency author hologram.
I just thought of a way you could do that. It requires you to have a building with a clear roof. The sunlight needs to be coming through the roof as the primary source of lighting inside the building. And then you just program a bunch of cat NPCs to walk around on the roof.
Yeah, pretty much. Should get away from
You have
this
to
thing
do it like in
before
a
it
mission
explodes.
where reality is breaking down or something.
Yeah, pretty much. You holograms.
Now I want to really make a mission where reality breaks down.
You have aided us in battle.
Is
Like,
the one that
We're sorry, but you have broken reality. Please check back later.
Oh, and I've actually had to break reality to get certain features in, specifically difficulty options. The way I did that, this was in Eons, was basically you can go to a contact, and what would pop up would be QCat. And QCat would say, "Is the mortal having trouble?" And you can just say, "Yes." And then it'll spawn in additional dudes. Because I couldn't work out I didn't want to work out a sensible way of having that work out fine. Ooh, I can do attack pattern alpha now. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, I've done AEI, well, not AEI Judge Cat, but QCat. So you can have a mission based around QCat, and QCat's making the universe come apart. Oh, I can't set, or at least right now, I can't set attack pattern alpha to do auto execute. Oh, there we go. Got it. I forgot which button to use. Okay, there we go. Oh, one last tidbit about Epoch, my new mission. It is number 11.
Getting up towards my mission count.
I've
So
got
something like 15.
I'll get to 14 with my current projects, and I might get up to 15 before I take a break for a while.
I would have somewhere around that many missions if I'd actually finished all of the missions I'd started.
I can't let you get past my mission count, Duncan, so maybe I have to actually finish some more.
I'm still on 3.
That's a good
that-
3.
I like to think so.
Is
With
secretly,
the
I
number
think
of tutorials that, things that we've done for live streaming on the Foundry Roundtable, it's really more like 5.
Yeah, but those aren't as good.
I've gone into
They're
Alpha
not
Quad.
meant to be good.
They're not as well reviewed.
One thing I will say is that I think there is definitely been an influx of new players thanks to the console version. Stowe Reddit in particular has sort of exploded with people asking questions, new players, which I think is natural.
When I was transferring between instances on ESD, there were a lot of full instances on ESD.
Yeah, there were like 30.
Yeah. It's kind of happening over here because the Xbox Live is a pretty big service, and PlayStation has also got its. I think it's got a larger user base, so there's a huge new audience now for Star Trek Online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
And they've definitely shipped out something that's very well polished. I've tried out a few other free-to-play games, World of Tanks, and what was it? Oh crap! I'm forgetting the name. Not Warface. It's not Warface. It's the Warframe. There we go. Warframe. And the intro experiences definitely weren't as good as Star Trek Online's been. So
what
this
I've
is
heard
definitely
of World of Tanks, it's one of those games where if you attempt to fight people who are non-free players, you're basically going to get annihilated repeatedly.
Yeah, it's
And you just have no chance of it.
Yeah, it's one of those games. It does get pretty tough because it is competitive multiplayer, basically.
I played the
even-
PC version.
But yeah, Star Trek Online, it's got a really good offering here on the consoles. So hopefully it'll continue to do really well here on this platform.
Roguice is wondering how many players will make a permanent transition from PC to console.
Probably not very many.
Not many,
it's
just
hard to
because you
say.
don't. Yeah, nothing
You
carries
can't
over.
transfer your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so all my stuff is on
exactly.
the. And the big feature is the new lighting engine that is coming to the PC. So I
Yes.
think the biggest change would be for people who are really sort of struggling to keep playing on the PC because of technical limitations, and that they happen to have an Xbox One. And this just, if you're coming off of like something that's barely able to keep up with the current settings, I mean, going to, Xbox One graphics, new lighting engine, everything runs smoothly. That's the people who I think would make a permanent change. Just for technical reasons, this just...
Or people who have just a really strong preference for Xbox or PlayStation over PC for gaming.
yeah. But I mean, it's a case that this is.
For me, for someone like me who's very established on the PC, I like the control scheme on the PC. It was only ever going to be sort of a momentary distraction. And because it requires Xbox Live Gold, which I've been complaining about ad nauseum on Twitter, I'm definitely not going to play probably past the 14-day trial here that I've got going. Because I have too many monthly subscription things going as it is. And there's going
that's
to
fair.
have to do a new one come January to watch Star Trek Discovery.
I'm just waiting for the DVDs on that one.
Yeah. But I mean,
Well, I
not
definitely
try
plan
not
to
spoil
watch
it.
that. I'm just not sure how I'm going to watch that yet.
as I was going to say, the goal of the console release is not to steal players from PC. It's to
No, I don't think it is.
open it to a new group of players who can't play it because it's on PC.
Or just never bother to try it because they don't normally play PC games.
Or it may have tried it way back in the day when it was less polished than it is, and now this is giving people an opportunity to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So I am debating about whether or not we've got enough time for another mission.
Let's see, what time is it now?
I don't think we
It's
quite do.
8:20.
So we're getting towards our
Okay.
usual finishing time here. So why don't we wrap things up there?
Okay.
Well, we got one last question from Roguice, which is the lighting system. Did it raise system requirements?
A lot.
Yes and no. We've actually got Duncan here, who is also one of the sort of mid-range players who can't run everything
On high res.
maxed out, right?
Well,
and
for
you actually
Star Trek Online, I can do that for Skyrim and some other games, but not for Stowe. It's
and yet,
improved
ironically,
performance.
yeah.
It's definitely improved performance. There's some, glitches over that just make the game not run so well. And it just comes, you can just kind of chop that down to sub-optimization. Just one word there. The game does run better in general. So I think if you're just barely scraping by on minimum system requirements, like totally like you just have what it says on the box, you might be in for a little bit of problems. But the one thing to keep in mind is that the new lighting engine is kind of added on top of everything. So if you're running on low settings, you won't see it. So I don't think it's
So not much
like-
to change.
Well,
Yeah, I can't test
there is one specific technical limitation that you guys mentioned in the last show that I tested it out, and it could be a problem for some people because, as you mentioned, the new lighting engine requires DirectX 11 hardware compatibility.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, the game will simply crash.
Uh-oh.
Well,
But I think you can still run it on DirectX 9, right?
Yeah, I mean, I bet you if you try, it's trying to run DirectX 11 by default on Tribble, and so if you do a safe mode start, it'll probably work. I think it'll force it down to
That's
its
just it,
absolutely
though.
minimum setting.
I couldn't even get it to load anything close to a user interface when I attempted it.
Well,
You can do that from the launcher.
Okay, I might try that, but
So yeah, if
we'll
you open up
see
the
how
options
that
in the
works.
launcher and check the safe mode option, it'll load Stowe with the absolute bare minimum settings.
Well,
And
we'll see how
from
that.
there you can adjust. Yeah.
Although, does Tribble allow you right now to change your DirectX settings? Because I didn't see that when I was looking in the graphic settings on there.
Yeah, you can. I was messing around with it.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, it could just be then. Now it's just trying to load DirectX 11 by default.
Yeah.
So,
if
might
you do
have to
an-
change that.
And it's been a while since they started rolling out DirectX 11 cards. I mean, so we're talking 5 years ago.
Yeah,
but there are people with.
it's not like you need to have a new top of the line card to get DirectX 11. It's just
A recent one. Yeah, when I first built this PC or put it together, the card I got for that would meet the system requirements just fine, and that was 5 or 6 years ago. So it's nothing groundbreaking, and there's certainly a lot of cheap options if you do end up wanting to upgrade, but I'm sure there's going to be some setting that allows you to sort of scoot by. You just might have to fiddle around with it once that goes live. But that's assuming that they change the DirectX setting by default. They might just do that on Tribble right now because the intention is to test lighting system.
Could be. But in any case, we are at our time limit for the evening. So,
right.
Dragoon, if you're capable, throw up our console contact. That's
quite
what we're going to
capable.
look for. Contact info. My console gaming seat is rather far away from my PC, so not everybody has that set up.
All right, so we can be reached by email at foundryroundtable@live.com. We are also on Twitter at foundryroundtab. Drogyn can be reached at Drogyn1701. Duncan can be reached at Gorgonops_SSF. Mark can be reached at Markhawkman. And I, of course, can be reached at Greendragoon.
All right. Well, we will return to our regularly scheduled Foundry-centric programming in our next episode. But for now, we will say goodnight.
Good night.
Hey,
Good night.
and play Epoch. To get that last
Okay,
plug in there.
I just clicked the checkbox to